This is a reminder for those that haven't subscribed to our weekly e-letter yet to jump on to www.wholemanacademy.com/movement, or just jump on the link tree that will be in our bio or comments and join the hundreds of men around the world that are reading our weekly e-letter, which helps men do life better. Let's get into it. So this is the Whole Man Academy podcast, episode 62. My guest today is Louis, Jay, Nick and Connor, friends who have shared values whilst working as trainers. They've come together to form GRNDHOUSE, an online fitness studio, which looks pretty cool to me because I've been checking out the website. These guys are passionate about getting men talking, which sounds familiar with the Whole Man Academy, working on their mental health, and together they're bringing a common goal of training your mind and your body. Welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Now tell us where you are, because we said before we started recording this, it's like you're doing an audition for something, and I'll let you decide on how that feels. But how are you all at the moment?
Yeah, good actually. Very good. Feels good to get out of the house actually. So
yes.
That's why we left the house. Yeah, we've been locked up for 9 months.
There's like a little recluse. Well, we're gonna go into a couple of the questions, obviously about GRNDHOUSE and each of you. But who's the fastest runner out of you lot?
It's Jay. Oh,
in a sprint.
You run about 100 meters and then you're on the floor. Jay could probably
100 meter sprint.
No,
what's the distance? What distance?
This is an important point, and this is one of these ones you get guys together, and this is what I've said. God, I miss getting a group of your mates together, because a simple question like that, and you're like, let me know the details first. Is it, what conditions? Can you wear spikes?
I mean, I'll be honest, I think I'm the slowest, so I'm just going to remove myself.
Anything over 100 meters is Jay. But
Right.
I think 100 meters I might do you with my legs.
I reckon anything over 1,000 meters.
All right, we should just do it one day. All right.
Well, it's between me and Jay.
We'll be back in about 10 seconds.
I was going to say.
Street. Let's just get Jay and Louis in a street drag.
Imagine you got that out of
Well, when we're all allowed to get back together, I'll come down to London and we'll do a test and see how we all get on. I'm guessing who's the oldest out of all of you?
Louis.
And how old are you?
33.
33. Okay, so I've got 10 years on you all, so I'll probably I'll have an extra head start or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, more importantly, who's the funniest?
And Louis as well. Yeah. Louis is great at telling stories.
Yeah, he's a good storyteller.
All right, so you're the fastest and the funniest. If the rest of you could just step aside. All right, well, look, guys, we're going to jump into talking about your big project. And so I've been checking it out online. Looks pretty cool to me. And it's kind of obviously perfect timing with a lot of people wanting to work out from home. Who can kind of jump into telling me the concept behind GRNDHOUSE?
May as well ask Louis.
Oh, yeah. So GRNDHOUSE was founded by 5 best friends. We all worked together for many years at Barry's Boot Camp, and we were all master trainers. So when lockdown happened, we all had our own platforms, and then in July we decided to come together to form GRNDHOUSE. What we wanted to do, we felt like we had built some great communities, and we wanted to kind of put all our communities together in one big space. So we created GRNDHOUSE. So GRNDHOUSE is an online strength platform, and what we offer is ritualistic training. So what we want to do is get people training every single day of the week. And each day, the impact on the body is either high, low, or medium. So it allows you to train throughout the week. So therefore, you're not absolutely just smashing your body and getting absolutely shattered. And it's about connecting community. It's a strength platform. So everything on there is about strengthening the body, strengthening the mind. And yeah, we were launched in January. It's been going great. We've got a great community. And yeah, we've got so many exciting things to come.
It's great. And I think one of the things you said there was about the different impacts on the body, because I know some people think they should be training really hard every day, and you're like, at some point, as the old saying of, your muscle building is when you're resting, not necessarily when you're kind of in the gym hammering it all the time. And what about for all of you who, because obviously having a group of friends together, sometimes people have the differing opinions on exactly how the branding should be and how it was also. So how much fun has that been with 4 or 5 of you involved?
I think it's good because you can have 5 different opinions, and so therefore, you can take a majority opinion sometimes if there is any kind of, discrepancy. But that's kind of been something that's been really fun for us, and we have a group WhatsApp chat, and we talk in it every single day, and every decision that's made goes through all of us. and we are a very, very tight group of friends. So we're not afraid to be honest with each other. We're not afraid to say anything, which has actually been really great. There's no animosity, there's no awkwardness or anything. So it's really great to actually do something with your best friends, because everything feels like an achievement together.
Yeah.
I think also we all have fun, and we take the mick out of each other. But when it comes down to Grindhouse and the business, when we need to kind of put our business hats on, we care about the brand. So we're all kind of like on the same level. And also we have Izzy, who's the glue of the group, who keeps us all in check.
Our queen.
Without her, we'd be screwed. Yeah.
I was going to ask actually, because often when after I worked in the city for 20 years, and at some point you've got to have someone that kind of keeps everybody in check. So you've just answered my question of that's the person that's got the lunging whip. Actually, that's something completely. That's a different podcast. But anyway, I know you mentioned. I know you mentioned. It's a strength-based workout. And the important thing I know you said on the website, it's available any place, anytime, anywhere. Because to state the obvious, for the last whatever it is, we've had 500 years of lockdown or whatever it is now, and the gyms have been closed for a lot of that, and so many people have been forced to work, not just work from home, but work out from home. And the difficulty I think for people there, and I'm talking predominantly the men from the Whole Man Academy, is there's no accountability, because there's no one, you're not going to see a personal trainer, or you're not going with a mate to a gym. They don't know what to do and how many to do, and how quickly they should. And they're saying that they haven't got the equipment. Whereas at least with Grindhouse, you're trying to provide that basis that ticks all, get rid of the excuses is probably what I'm trying to say. Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, what in terms of people making excuses to not train?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? Have
I touched on the subject there?
Yeah. No, I think what it is, I had a conversation recently with someone about it, and they were asking me about Grindhouse and asked about working at home, and he said, "Oh, I haven't been able to get any dumbbells." I was like, "All right." He was like, "Yeah, I've had no dumbbells since March," and I was like, "It's been nearly a year." It was one of those things where I just thought, I get it's been difficult, but like we all had to purchase dumbbells, same as everybody else. We had to go online, go on Amazon, wait 6 to 8 weeks to get dumbbells.
Yeah.
And I think now, like especially in this period, when I put it to him, I was like, no, it just wasn't important. I was trying to thought now. What was
dumbbells.
Dumbbells. Yeah, about the dumbbells. And I said, no, it hasn't been a priority for you. He's like, well, it has. I was like, well, it hasn't, because if it was a priority, you would have got those dumbbells in. And I understand the whole thing with it is so difficult to motivate yourself to train at home. We all know that. Like, we've all been there. Like, we will sometimes wake up and it's our platform, it's our workout. And sometimes I did Connor's workout the other day and I was like, oh, I'm bothered. And it's my platform. Like, I get it. But the whole point is that we have this community aspect kind of ingrained into our workout, or ingrained into the platform. Yeah. So we have a community page as part of the Grindhouse. So that feeling of completing a workout, when you finish and you want to tell your mates about it, but your mates might not be doing the same platform. You go online, you go onto the community page of Grindhouse and you write about your workout. You'll say, I just did Connor's class. I lifted this amount of weight. This was my calories. And I think that's been the biggest thing about our platform, is having that community aspect. Because without it, it's like you want to shout about it, you want to tell people about it, but there's no one to tell who have a same vested interest, or no one who's part of the same community. It's quite difficult. So I think that's been the best thing for us, is that community side to it.
That word's one of the things I'd written down that I thought was important, which is what we kind of based the Whole Man Academy on as well, was it's guys getting together to talk. We know how much for you guys maybe you've missed not getting out with your mates, be it in a sporting event, at the gym, in the pub, a nightclub, whatever it is. And that's why you picked up on that word I'd said was community, because let's face it, a lot of people working from home, working out from home, or just being at home, it's quite a lonely existence, to be honest. And that's one of the things I wonder with when people return to the gym, where many people have been conditioned not to go near people. I'm not sure how useful that is. So that's why you're with Grindhouse, having the community side of it, I think is a big plus, and really important to kind of get people back to conversing with each other. Well, let's talk about strength, because I know that I would say the guys listening to the podcast, but 25% of our listeners are female. So there'll be a mixture of people listening. But what's the difficulties of trying to do a strength workout when you are limited on the equipment that you've got at home and maybe the space?
it's about the education sort of factor more than anything. And what we're trying to portray is that we're trying to make strength training an option for everyone. I think there's been a bit of a stereotype where you need to lift like massive weights, you need to be in a certain environment for you to, you know, become stronger. And it's not necessarily the case at all. With exercise and with fitness and with anything, it's about almost kind of making the most out of what you sort of have. So with us, we're trying to make people stronger through any means necessary.
Yeah, I like that, because I don't think that guys realize how difficult it is, firstly, to build muscle. Now, you guys, you know, you guys have all obviously, I've seen your Instagram, you've all got great bodies and plenty of muscle around, but you know, it's hard work. And you know, it's always funny when you'll have a mate who, again, when I worked in London, who'd be like, yeah, I've got my protein shakes, I bought some. And I'll be like, oh great, you know, what are you doing? He's like, I went to the gym last week. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, you've got to do more than one a week, you know, and it's like, yeah, but I'm having my protein shakes and I'm having this or that. And I'm like, listen, nutrition is, as you know, nutrition is important, but you've got to actually do some work at some point, which is.
That's what we talked about on the newsletter this week, wasn't it? It was Nick asked me, what's the secret to a kind of healthy and effective relationship with training, and it is that consistency and that, you know, that ritualistic kind of habit that Lou mentioned earlier, where it's just a way of life. You just have to commit to it. It's at some point in that day, you know that you are going to work out because it's going to improve your body and it's going to improve your mind, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that we're trying to educate people on. It's like, that's why we have as we said, the high and lower impact days. We want to educate people that this is how you change your life. This is how you change your body. This is how you improve your mind. It's by training or doing something every single day.
Yeah. And I think just to touch on what you just said then, which is quite, we all know this, the biggest mistake men make is they do too much too soon.
Yeah.
The gym, and all they're bothered about is all they're bothered about is lifting the most amount of weight, and they'll do like 1 or 2 reps and that's it. Then what happens? They get injured, then they fall off their training, then their motivation to get back onto training isn't there. What we've created at the moment is that our training at the moment has been very mindful of the fact that people do have limited equipment. So what they're doing right now, like, you couldn't really injure yourself doing our workouts because we're not lifting.
Well, it's more mindful movement. Like,
and it's the fact that you're now getting these people who would usually go to the gym. And let's face it, before this, if you'd have said to any of us 4, would you get a good sweat on and a good pump from a home workout pair of dumbbells?
I'll be the first one to say that.
Probably would have said. Yeah. And the fact that now we've done that, hopefully it's also educating people that you don't need to be showing off with the heaviest weights with poor technique. Like, the fact is now you can lay great foundations by training, not lifting as heavy, focus on movement, and then that's how you're going to get stronger, and that's how you're going to get better results.
I think I found, like, later on in our training career, you realize you're a lot smarter about your training now.
Yeah.
And you go in the gym, you see these people lifting like crazy heavy weights, and I'm just like,
don't want to do that.
I'm okay for that, because every time you go near certain weights, you just injure yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at these people doing strength training like 5 reps and like lifting, you know, crazy weight, but the stuff you have to do to prep to do their movements, people don't do. So they're running the gym, we used to do it, stack up the bench press, no warm up. Bang, bang. 3 weeks later, you walk around, you rotators hanging up your arm. Like, you know, so now you just like, you train smarter. And we've realized, you know, through our career, and then when we created GRNDHOUSE, it's like, this is a smart way to train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can get a great body and feel fantastic doing this kind of training without having to do all that madness that you do in the gym, drinking protein shakes, really walking on a treadmill for 2.5 hours before you lift any kind of weights. You know, all that kind of stuff was gym myths from back in the day that kind of carried on to now.
Yes, the old school mentality.
That's a really important point, actually, isn't it? Because the amount of times you go into the gym and you've got some people that are trying to, you know, get their 1 rep max up, and but as you say, like, I ain't doing no warm up, and any chance of any warm down or stretching, I'll do it tomorrow. And you're like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how with guys. I think it is always that you just want to get on with it, and maybe guys don't realize. You know, I write a lot about this for the Whole Man Academy. You know, your mind and your body are so interlinked that if you haven't got your mind right, then maybe you should be working on your mind before you even do your body.
100%.
Where do you guys stand on that? Because you know, as as I was looking at, it's, as you know, it's not just your body, it's your mind as well. How do you each kind of stay motivated? Because for each of you, you can't have the physiques you have without being consistent, eating well, regularly going to the gym. Is it because you just love it so much, or is there any other point that kind of you think, do you know what, I use a certain something that keeps me hitting the gym?
Well, as you said there, the mind and body work in conjunction with each other, and motivation perpetuates itself. So if you're feeling daunted about starting something or just getting up off the sofa and doing a workout, what you find is you do actually have to force yourself to do that. You can't wait for the motivation to come to you. You have to go to it. And then after you go to it, it will start perpetuating itself. And when I first started training really regularly, I was at a point where I didn't have control over certain things in my life. And that was the one thing that I could do that I had control over.
Yeah.
And that, for me, put everything else in my life at ease, because I was therefore in such a good mental and physical state. So I was therefore ready to approach life in a much healthier mindset. So what then I kind of realized over time is that this is a way of life. And if I ever am feeling down, anxious, or any kind of negative feelings, I know that if I just go for a run, if I just have a stretch, do a bit of yoga, do a workout, I know that the instantaneous and long-term mental benefits of that physical workout is limitless.
Yeah, priceless. Do you feel also in the last, again, let's call it the last year, where people have had the gyms closed, that you've found a new appreciation, not just for going to the gym, but for other things in life?
Yeah, it's just all the simple things, isn't it?
Go for a walk.
Yeah,
literally.
Go for a walk before this.
No.
When you got friends and they're like, you're just having them moments, where we went for a walk the other day for an hour around the park, just having a chat. In the 6 years we've been friends, we've never done that.
No, that's the point. Actually. I actually messaged
all holding hands around the park.
I messaged you guys that morning saying, Louis, I'm having that crippling anxiety again, where you have no idea why you're feeling that way, but I just felt like a really heavy chest lump in throat. And they were like, let's just go on a walk around Hyde Park. And we just went on a walk around Hyde Park together, chatted, and I have felt absolutely fine ever since that. And I couldn't pinpoint why I was feeling like that, but just going on a walk actually made it feel much better. So yeah, little things like that we never would have done. Do you go for a walk around Hyde Park?
But you're right. It is that we're on the podcast. We're always looking for, and we call them the golden nuggets, but I always want them to be memorable, simple, memorable, and achievable, because we can come up with all these fancy scientific things to make you feel better, but if you haven't got time to do them, or you forget. But one of those big things for us is about a morning routine is, like you say, is for us, it's like move, breathe, think, and drink. What have you got to do that day? Don't start your day necessarily with coffee. I love coffee, but hoovering down a pint of that before you get started isn't necessarily going to help. What about for you guys in the mornings? What works for you and what doesn't?
Well, you're the king of morning routines.
Excellent.
One of the things for me is our phones. So I actually switch my phone off an hour prior to sleeping, and I won't actually look at it an hour after I wake up, because you just find that you're on all the time. You're looking at social media, you're looking at emails, you're watching episodes, you're watching things. So this whole kind of concept of also looking after your minds, we're so charged up, you need to switch your mind off. So the hour before you sleep and the hour after you wake up is just for you to collect your thoughts and just wake up naturally and just almost ease yourself into it. Even if it is simply just drinking a coffee or a water, or writing something, or even listening to a podcast or anything. It's almost that kind of natural sense of just waking up and almost just appreciating, like you said, the simple things in life.
Yeah.
I think with life as well, prior to lockdown, we're always on. So like I said, and obviously you will know this from obviously working 9 to 5 as well. From the minute you wake up, it's just okay, I'm on. So we need to slow down a little bit. We need to nourish ourselves, in the mind as well as everything around us. I think. So yeah,
I think that's probably been people's biggest takeaway. From this year, it's actually
just slowing down.
Life, how we were living it before, was actually crazy and insane, especially living somewhere like London.
Yeah.
And there is, although we can't wait to get back to some form of normality, there's definitely things that we would have taken from this year that we'll apply to our new life going forward. And for me, it was things like actually enjoy being in my apartment sometimes. I don't need to be out the house all day, every day. Like the little things, like your little morning routines. Like I love waking up now, having a coffee, doing my morning mobility and not looking at my phone that whole time. And that is something that I would continue to do instead of waking up, literally putting a cap on and then just walking out the house.
Yeah.
Only a cap.
Just a cap.
Just a cap, nothing else.
Yeah.
Cap and boots.
I moved out from London a couple of years ago, so I'm in the Cotswolds and it's a couple of degrees cooler up here, so I have to put something more than a cap on to go out, to be honest. But actually, you've obviously been reading my notes because you touched on two of the points there I wanted to ask you about, which is, all four of you are big on Instagram. So therefore, and the Whole Man Academy, we're on Instagram, but at one point I was like, wow, am I posting for the sake of it as opposed to posting because I've got something useful to say? And then you'd be like, oh, let's have a look at how many people looked at my story and let's have a look at this. And especially when David Gandy would post stuff to his 1 million followers and would tag us, and you can imagine all the random messages, and you'd be like, oh, what was I actually doing? I don't know. But 20 minutes later, you're still looking at your phone. So none of us are, who's the youngest in the crowd?
Me, it's Connor. Yeah, 28.
28. So I always think for me, I didn't grow up with social media, and it's really exploded in the last, let's say 5, 6, 7 years. So how is it for you guys kind of feeling that need to, be on social media because it creates your profile, but also giving yourself time off from it?
Yeah, I think because with social media, we have been in that game of like thinking social media is your life and thinking, you need to worry about likes, you need to worry about this, you need to worry about that, and thinking it all means something.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you're like, this means fuck all. Yeah. And then one day you might get 1,000 likes, the next day you get 200 likes. And the moment you realize that and you actually just start posting, sometimes you post things that you want to post and you ain't scared about how many likes it gets or comments. Some things you might just want to say something that you want to say, or something might be educational. And just on social media, start doing what you think comes naturally and do things that you enjoy. And then social media becomes less of a chore. Because when you try and crack the social media code, you will never crack it because it changes, it's this, it's that. And, someone can have 100,000 followers and make no money, and someone can have 5,000 followers and make loads of money. There's no way to crack it. So just be yourself on social media. Don't worry about the stuff you get back with likes and comments, things like that. Interact with your friends and use it as that kind of platform rather than think it's life. Because if you think it's life, it will just kick you in the teeth and then send you crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure. I'd say roughly 90% of the guys that are kind of come through the Whole Man Academy or subscribe to our letter are on Instagram. And often trying to say, giving us, as in fact David Gandy said at the event we did at Savile Row at Geese and Hawks, and one of the main things was give yourself time off from social media, because as you say, you can literally live your life through it. And how about for all of you, did you with developing your online platform for Grindhouse, have you all had input into it, or have you had one person? Because it's often difficult to get several different ideas for like how the branding should be. Who wants to?
Well, effort.
Yeah.
We all had like a vision for it, like in terms of our training philosophy and our fitness philosophy and our sort of values. I think like we're all like aligned on that. So actually, in terms of creating the brand itself, it's actually easy because when you all sing from the same like sort of hymn sheet, then it sort of just falls into place like sort of naturally. So
we do have like different strengths that we're good at. So for example, Jay is like head of fitness, so he was the one that was like, this is what our schedule should be, this is the kind of interesting classes that we should have that you can't find out there, this is who you should teach. So that kind of thing. Nick is amazing on social media. He actually enjoys social media.
Weirdly enough, I actually do quite like
he's cracked the code. So he's in charge of all that kind of thing. He's doing an amazing job because us three are just useless to that kind of thing. Louis had a business before, so like he's very, very business minded and knows exactly what should be done when, and he's very much the glue that keeps the company together as
We
well.
wouldn't, we wouldn't sort of have this without him.
No, yeah, Louis.
We would have a business without him, so.
Exactly. and I'm
That's
like,
all I wanted.
I'm gonna
That's
say,
all I wanted.
Yeah.
oh, you really.
It's true though. Like with the
Guys, you know this is a therapy group, and it's 170 an hour.
Yeah.
Therapy, isn't it?
Well, I was going to ask you, since we're here to talk about Grindhouse and then more about the men's health stuff, but for guys that are listening, watching, I know you've got, is it gold, the founding membership, and silver as the kind of the three options. So who'd like to tell me, I mean, I think we can guess with the founding membership, it's about being one of the first ones in the game, as it were, but who can kind of take me through the three of those and what they entail?
Well, the only kind of real huge difference between them all is literally just how frequently you'll build. But the gold and the silver, silver's monthly, you build, you get a 7-day free trial, so you can try out the platform. Gold is billed biannually, you also get a 7-day free trial. And the founding membership is billed annually, but you also get things like discount on merchandise, discount on in-studio classes potentially in the future. And you all get access to the same platform, the same community forum and stuff like that. But we had a strong community of people beforehand who were really behind us. And we were like, we need to give this community, this specific pool of people, something so they can be like, I'm a founding member, Yeah. So that's kind of where we got the founding membership from. But other than that, everybody gets the same access to the platform. It's just how frequently you build, really.
I was going to say, it's your inner circle, but that sounds a bit weird, so we'll just leave that one.
Yeah.
So
I think the founding memberships, it was because with the online platforms before, and especially Jay created such a big community with his doing it on Instagram that we wanted to kind of give back something to our community and give them the chance to kind of be the first to be part of Grindhouse.
I like it, and I as said before, I just think it's so important at the moment. And one of the other things, I think the word popped up a while ago, which was podcasts. And I always say podcasts saved my life. And I don't mean because I was like suicidal, but I once I found podcasts and personal development, and it kind of took me off on a journey to where we are now, setting up the Whole Man Academy. But for you guys, do you listen to podcasts? And if so, could you each tell me one or two that you listen to and why?
Oh, we literally have just been discussing one recently.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think it speaks for all of us. And Connor's just started really getting into his Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
The best podcast.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
He just covers everything, but we listen to podcasts really frequently. There's one that we've just been discussing about a UFC fighter called Francis Ngannou. And it's about his journey from Cameroon and how he got from Cameroon to Paris. You don't have to be like a UFC fan to watch it.
Yeah.
But that is an extraordinary human feat of how he's got that struggle. You have to listen to that podcast because it doesn't matter who you are. It's not about sport or UFC, although that's where he's come from. But the journey of that human being, I've never heard anything like it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, what he went through and the struggles that he went through, like listen to it. It made me feel bad about ever feeling that I've been through a struggle. It took him 14 months to get from Cameroon to Paris. I won't tell you the story, ruin it for you, but the stuff that he went through and to have that determination and that willpower and then come from literally nothing to fighting at the end of the month for the heavyweight championship of the UFC, it's mind-blowing. And it will motivate any man that listens to another man that went through that and the stuff that mentally that he went through. And you can really, and the fact that he's talking about it, it really resonates well. You know what I mean? Because as men, we don't speak as much as we should do. And the way he's speaking about it, it's like, wow. He's talking about the mental side of it as well. And it's just fantastic.
I think the podcast that we all kind of listen to and discuss, I'd say if there was a theme, it would be, stories like that, definitely non-fiction stuff, inspirational and motivational stuff. Like that's what really kind of gets our juices flowing, because we are four people who are very ambitious, very motivated, and listening to other people's success stories.
We
love how I built this. When we started setting this up last year, I was listening to every single Guy Raz how I built this podcast and even read the book, because I was like, what's the correlation between every single one of these companies? You know, I just find it so inspiring listening to, you know, normal people like us, what their journey was, what their hardships were, and how they feel about their successes now.
That's it's interesting also that you spoke about the Joe Rogan podcast, because I was talking to Ryan Palmer, who's the co-founder of the London Sock Company, a while ago, and we were saying about with Joe Rogan, because it's long form conversation, and I think for all of us there is so much. Let's look at Instagram stories at the moment. If you can't hold someone's attention for like 2.5 seconds, people are like next.
Yeah.
And there's so much on Instagram where it's like, or, you know, not just Instagram, but that's the example for us, where it's short attention span, that a lot of the guys who listen to our podcasts are like, do you know what? Like, you know, it's an hour and a half, but I might listen to it all at once or over the course of a couple of days. But that long form conversation is still very popular with guys, it seems.
I think you engage with it a lot more as well. Like this podcast that we we're just talking about then, I've been listening to it over the course of a couple of days, and therefore it's kind of constantly on my mind. It's like when you read a book, you don't read a book in an hour and it's done. You know, you read it and you think about it and you learn more because you're kind of, you know, digesting it over a long period of time.
Yeah, I think our personalities, like when we, you know, we're inspired by people. So when you listen to them conversations and you take snippets of, you know, things that they've dealt with, like Guy Raz, the companies and stuff like that, and, you know, us people on Joe Rogan, that you learn from them. You know what I mean? They've kind of done the hard work in certain situations. So when you come across some certain situations, it gives you like a light bulb on. You can relate to it, and the struggles, and even with business and with the Guy Raz, like, it sounds silly, but you know, you come across certain things, you think, yeah, but everyone's gone through this. We've listened to all the big companies that have done it. We know what it's going to be like. And it really kind of educates you as well, and you know, it puts you in good stead for the future.
Would you say that you would learn more from listening to a story than maybe reading a book that's just facts, telling you how to think?
Yeah, for sure.
Learning from other people's stories, I guess, makes it relate to.
Firstly, I can't read, so yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic, so when I read, I'll read this. So sometimes I'm reading my daughter a story. And it'll just be a completely different story. She'll be like, Dad, that wasn't the story. And I'm like, yeah, sorry.
You're freestyling.
I always have to tell Louis to start talking to us in riddles. Because he's just like, he says the words that pop into his head, but doesn't string it together to form a sentence. So we really get questions like, guys, does anybody know?
I'm just thinking about, like, what could he be saying? Maybe this. Yeah.
But that just shows, though, you all have your, you know, a bit like saying having one of you as the head of fitness, you all have your strengths and weaknesses, don't you? And I think, you know, when you're in a team like that, if one of you is like, do you know what, that's not my strong point, the rest of you have got it licked. Well, let me, seeing as I went through your bios, so I wanted to pick a couple of bits out. Let's start with Jay. And this is what I like, is you were raised with the ethos of you choose not to be average, so don't believe that you are.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Release harshest way.
Tell you how good. I'm quite a harsh person when it comes to stuff. Like, out of all of us, I'm very black or white. Like, it's very.
Basically, Jay needs to be careful when he says anything, because he has no. Growing up in the Marines, he's very direct and very, like, no bars holding back when he talks about something. But for some people, that's really hard for them to digest.
Yeah.
So that's why right now he's like, how can I say this without offending the globe?
If you don't know Jay is actually the softest person ever. Like, one of the softest in the group. So when if you get that side of Jay, you might be like, oh, what? But really, for us, it's just like, it's just
that's the way it is.
Okay, so that was the context behind why Jay is nervous to answer this question. Now just answer it.
Well, Jay, before you jump into it, for those that don't know, was it 10 years you spent in the Royal Marines?
No, 4.5.
4.5. Okay, so that's long enough for most people to realise that there are no snowflakes allowed in the Royal Marines. Therefore, you're not there to be everybody's friend, and sometimes you have to kick ass and get shit done. So you can say whatever you want.
Okay. I think what it is that, just from my own personal experience, is that my biggest regret in life is getting to a certain age and I've not taken advantage of my youth or my intelligence or whatever. So when it comes to, like, my body, we were talking before about why we train and our motivation to train. Maybe some people listening can resonate with this, but I just think that when I get to a certain age, I will not be able to do the things that I can do now. That's just a fact. That's a fact for all of us. Whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, I want to be able to take advantage of the fact that I'm now 30. I feel physically fit. I feel like I'm in my prime, and I want to make the most of that and just take advantage as much as I can. So the whole ethos in choose not to be average is that I just don't want to spend these years where I don't have to be average, because let's face it, when I get to 60 odd, my body is going to be very average, if not below average. And I can't change that. That is just, it's going to happen for what, it's just age. That's dictating it. Right now, I can dictate it. I can dictate whether or not I choose my body or my mind to be average or not. And when I'm older, I won't get that decision, and I like to be in control. So that's why I'm doing it now, and that's my reason for staying in shape. And that's why I kind of say I choose not to be average. I think some people hear it and they term it wrong, and they say, oh, well, I can't because of X, Y, or Z, or no, but that isn't fair. I can't. I'm like, we all can to a certain degree. All of us can.
But I think it's average in relation to that person, not average in comparison to other people. Do you know what I mean? So they're choosing to be the average version of themselves.
It's not compared to anybody else whatsoever. But it's like most men. So when I was a PT, Louis is the same. We used to train men who were like in their mid-40s. And I used to respect those men the most out of everybody, because most of them get to that point and they just sort of go,
give up.
I'm just going to stay the way I am, because it's so much more difficult, because your the amount of muscle that you can build is nothing like it was compared to when you're in your late 20s, early 30s. Your bone density's gone down. It is so much harder for you to get in shape. And those men who would come in and train with me and go, do you know what? I've made some pretty bad choices up until now, but I want to do something about it now, knowing that they're never going to be in the shape they were in their 30s. They were my favorite people. I just thought the mentality you have to start that process, I used to love that. And that's what I mean about they chose not to be average at that point in their life.
That's a really good point, because it's a couple of months ago, we spoke on one of the podcasts about the phases for a man of life. And, you know, you always, for all of you, you'll look back at maybe in your teens, and I spent a lot of time chasing girls and doing silly shit. And then, you know, in your 20s, you were trying to accumulate as much money as you can and chasing girls and doing silly shit. And then in your 30s, you did, different things. Whereas when you get to your 40s and you have kids or any age, your priorities have to change because you've got other little people that depend on you, and you can't be at the gym at, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning or after work all the time. So I just wonder also, Jay, with coming out of the Marines, what was it like coming out of the Marines and going to being, a normal bloke, as it were? Although none of us are normal blokes. We can admit that.
Yeah, I found it difficult to understand I didn't get the same level of respect anymore. So when I was in the Marines, obviously the respect level you get is ridiculous. They have a beret called the Green Beret. It's like recognized across the world. Everybody knows that beret. So if you've got that on, it's like a statement, and it's like, wow. And I kind of don't really have any qualifications, don't really have anything that prior to the Marines that I was proud of achieving. So when I left, the thing that I was most proud of now wasn't as relevant in real life. So I was trying to find my way in life, and it'd be really silly little things. Like I'd open the door for somebody and they wouldn't say thank you. And I'd be like, what? That I find that so disrespectful. When it's not at all. Like Connor says to me all the time, like, you shouldn't be doing something because you are
opening the door for them just so they can say thank you to you.
Oh well,
quite a gentleman, if I may say so myself. It's like Jay still walks around that imaginary green beret.
That's the lack of respect you get.
Maybe just start wearing it again, mate.
I would, but no, it's and also the kind of it's just like a kind of big boys club, and no one talks about their emotions. No one talks about anything like that. If you are, people just frown at you like that's not the sort of thing we talk about.
Yeah.
Everybody there's got a big ego. They've all got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Everybody's kind of playing a character. It was very rare that you ever sat down with someone and really got to grips with who they were as a person. So then in life, when I would speak to people, I would not, I still have it now. I have a bit of a facade as like a trainer. I don't really speak to people. I'm not that approachable. Like I'm very because it's only the people closest to me that I want to kind of give that to. I'm just getting a bit emotional.
Guys, we'll pause it here for a group hug.
Yeah.
No, never mind. Well, I know that's it. That's the screenshot. I know on your bio you also said, and that's something I like, is like expect to be pushed.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if you're going to go through life and you don't want to be pushed, you're kind of missing out on something.
Massively, yeah. But it's not only that. But it's one of my favorite quotes is, to touch on what you just said, is discipline equals freedom. So, for example, where we used to work before at a boutique fitness studio, it was quite an intimidating place to go and work out for anybody. So if you were to turn up there, that first day of that pang of anxiety, you'd feel a bit sick. You're like, am I going to do well?
Because you fit for every class.
Oh yeah, are people going to judge me? Like, everyone in the class pushes really hard. I'm not too sure. But the whole thing of the discipline of putting yourself through that over and over and over again, give it a few months, it's gone.
Yeah.
You don't have that anxiety anymore. Now it's changed. Now it's I want to do really well. I want to see if I can beat my PB on this. I want to see if I can do that. And that happens for the majority of people. But there's no two ways about it. You have to be willing to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. Because if you don't, you're never going to feel comfortable. And it's that discipline equals freedom. The most free people, in my opinion, are the ones who have the discipline to feel uncomfortable over and over and over again. Because what once was uncomfortable, I promise you, look back on and you go, do you remember when I found that real? Remember that pang of anxiety I used to get? And I'm like, we don't get that anymore.
No.
And that freedom
You have to
of
earn
not,
that.
yeah,
You
but
have to earn
that like freedom of not having that anymore, you can't buy that.
You know what we were saying before, like when we listen to these podcasts and things, and you learn from them. Like one thing with Jay, when I train with Jay, what Jay will do is, no matter what pain he's going through, no matter what discomfort he's feeling, he will not show a thing. So you can jump on the treadmill next to him, where we used to work bars, and you'd be like, I'm going to really push this one. And no matter what you did, Jay would just be there with you, but looking like it was nothing. So eventually, your spirit would go, I can't. He's absolutely fine. But what I learned from that is that we used to like fitness events, things like that. Jay's like, don't sit down, don't show that you're tired. And what I learned from that is that everything you do now, like the more you kind of like moan about it and say how hard it is, it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah.
It's not going to change what you've got to do. You've got to do it anyway. So sometimes it's better just to stay strong, get it done. And then once it's finished, Jay will be like, I was really struggling there. But it's over then. So you didn't, because I'm the kind of guy that would do that whole session. I moan about it the whole way through, but still get it done.
Yeah.
And it completely changed my mentality of like, when anything I do now, I think, Jay will moan about this.
Actually, training with Jay, it definitely made me better at training, purely because of the mentality behind it.
Do you remember I don't know, what would you call him, fitness professional, Greg Plitt?
Yeah.
And I went through a phase where I used to look at his stuff, and I was like, obviously he had a great physique, and he was a real character. And I used to, for fun, for a while, I was like, basically, when someone would put something that you didn't want to eat in front of you, you'd be like, would Greg eat that? No. And then I found out that he got run over by a train when he was trying to run, when he was doing a fitness test on it, by having it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No way. Greg Plitt was.
What do you mean? He was trying to do a fitness test on the train.
So he was recording something where he was like, watch me outrun the train.
Oh.
And unfortunately, he didn't.
That's the kind of thing that Lou would do. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Lou would be like,
I used to love it.
Yeah.
Greg Plitt was that was like one of my first people.
Yeah, his motivation.
Amazing.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't realize till I saw something on like YouTube, and at the end it comes up, and it had obviously the day he was born, so whatever, and then like the day, it's got another date, and I was like, why is there another date on there?
Yeah,
and then so if you've taken nothing out of today, it's don't try and go faster than a train, because it ain't gonna happen. Let's Jay, you've ticked off the boxes, but Nick.
Yes.
Nick, step into the spotlight, sir. A career jump from the corporate 9-to-5 daily grind. What was that like?
It was actually fun. I mean, to be honest, because like I said, but I had quite a different upbringing to Jay. You could argue. I mean, I went from like a philosophy degree to a marketing role for 5 years, and it was kind of that security net. But the one thing which I realized when I was in it, it's like just being complacent. And like, I lived for the weekends. I was, you know, rocking up on a Monday at work being like, oh my God, this is shit. But because you're, you know, trapped in that environment, like it took me so long to finally man up and actually make a move. So actually when I made the move at like 26 and like I realized I had absolutely nothing again and I had to draft from the beginning, it's like, I didn't know if I had the self-confidence or the ability to actually make it sort of work.
Yeah.
However, it's like you almost have to just say to yourself, like, if you don't back yourself, then literally no one else will. And you develop a resilience and obsession for just like really, really hard work. So yeah, I mean, I get like a lot of questions on actually social media because I feel like a lot of people are in the same position where they have these 9 to 5s and they're almost living for like the paycheck or the security or almost like a safety net. But you know, life isn't meant to be safe. If you kind of put yourself in a very uncomfortable position, you'd be very surprised as to what you can achieve. And had I not made, you know, like a move, and the first year, 18 months was shit. Like it was awful. It was a transition where I met Izzy. We had no money. Obviously, like you know, I had Izzy, which was amazing. But like you were literally like, oh my God, this is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to endure and you're willing to just almost like trust yourself, then like, you know, you could open a business, so it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what? I have great respect for people that, you know, take that leap, because believe me, I know enough guys that work in the city still who fucking hate their job, but they've got a big house, kids at private school, the expensive cars and the mortgage. And they're like, well, I can't leave and do what I want to do because I've got to maintain my lifestyle. And you're like, we'll see how that works out for you. Because years down the line, you'll probably look back and be like, yeah, what have I done? Well, also on that, I know you'd, what it was written was Nick feeds off his client's energy. And isn't that important? Because if you're around people that are like energy vampires or mood hoovers, you want to be around those people that are energizing. So how have you kind of brought that into your existence?
I feel like you're a product of like your friends and like your family, like around you. It's like a lot of people look at us and they think that we're quite a close group to Nick. Like we're obviously 5 friends and we don't really, I wouldn't say like associate ourselves with anyone else, but it's almost like we don't need anyone else. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was younger, like we all had this where like we wanted to be friends with everyone. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you literally wanted to like have relationships with everyone and any sort of thing. You know, but as you get older, you realize that actually you only need almost like a finite amount of people to create, you know, energy and almost like align yourself with. And I feel it's why it's worked so well is because we were almost brought together through fitness, which sounds weird. Like we just had a shared interest in fitness and obviously working out, but through that we developed such like strong relationships, and we realized that actually outside the circle we don't really need anyone else besides family. So yeah, it just works.
It's an important one, you know, not trying to please everybody.
Yeah, sure.
And actually that we had, I'm trying to think, after you've had like 60 guests on, you forget who it was that comes up with the golden nuggets. But it is that thing of, you know, if you go through life trying to keep everybody happy, you're not living your authentic life, because you know there's always going to be someone that's like, oh, I don't like him because he said this or did that or wears that or whatever it is. So, and also, I know when you kind of move from the 9 to 5, I just wondered for you, at what point, especially when it's hard, when you leave and maybe you aren't earning much money for a while, at what point, or was there a point where you thought, I've made the wrong decision?
I don't think I ever thought that, like I made a wrong decision. Like I always knew it would have been like sort of hard. However, for me, it was a realization that knowing that if I didn't make this work, I would have to return to the 9 to 5. And for me, that was just like, honestly, the thought of sitting in an office, like, you know, behind a laptop and you're looking at the screen every day and you know you're not fulfilling your potential, it's so shit. Like it's the worst feeling ever. So for me, I just had an obsession that was like, I need to make this work. And like you don't need many things to keep you, you know, like ticking over. Like you know, like we said, like, you know, with the 9 to 5 or the rat race or whatever you want to kind of call it, like you're striving for financial or for a title. Whereas when I was in like my new role, you were just striving to wake up every day with passion. And literally I was waking up and like, even though I wasn't earning a shitload of money, I was just super content with everything. And you just have to like keeps with it. Like with fitness, I always say that in order for you to see results, it's all about consistency, and it's the same with life. Like in order for you to achieve what you want, you have to be prepared to just like work at it relentlessly.
Yeah. No, it's a good answer. And I think, you know, for a lot of the men that listen to the Whole Man Academy podcast, or when we write about the e-letter, I think we said it earlier, it's that consistency and being okay taking some risks and maybe pissing a few people off along the way. Otherwise, yeah, you'll look back in 5-10 years and you'll be like, oh, I'm still doing the same thing. Well, Connor, we're gonna ask you some questions. I know on your Instagram, sometimes you share some videos about the cooking, and you know we haven't touched on how important the nutrition is to.
That's way back in the day, isn't it?
That's really,
He's really gone to the archives there. Yeah.
So I always scroll back because often you can find the oldest stuff is the best stuff to talk about. But like joking aside, you all know how important it is to be, you know, eating. I'm not saying you can't eat anything that isn't, you know, can't have cookies and this and that, the other, but we all know how important it is. If you want to achieve you know, whatever to you is a great physique and a high level of fitness, you're probably going to have to be eating well as well. So kind of how do you talk to the people that you train, and also what works for you?
Well, I posted something recently actually, which was it was a video of my lunch, and it was literally, I think it was some barbecue steak, plain white rice, and broccoli. And I put, I've been eating the same shit for lunch and dinner for the past 8 years. And like the thing is, I want to be able to have a Five Guys, which is my favorite like cheat meal. I want to be able to have a cookie if I want it. I want to be able to go out on the weekend, pre or post COVID, and have whatever I want on that menu. But in order to be able to do that, I need to make sure that I'm in good daily habits, not only, you know, just for aesthetic, but also because, you know, your body needs that whole food that's rich in nutrients and stuff like that. So when I did first start, you know, training, and when I was in my first year of university in London, my diet was horrendous. It was microwave meals. One time I got my bank statement through for the month, and I'd had 19 McDonald's in 1 month. That was what my diet was. So when I started training, that is Louis III. When I started training and I started changing my diet, I was like, wow, the difference that I feel in my body is amazing. And again, just like, you know, as I said earlier, with that ritualistic training, and you just like naturally it perpetuates itself and you feel better and you look better. It's the same thing with your food. You do just go, do you know what? Even though this isn't the most flavoursome, exciting meal I've ever had in my life, I am actually eating this. And I'm like, I know that this is really good for my body right now. My body needs protein, carbs, fats, fruit and veg, you know, and you do feel good about the choice that you've made, whether or not you actually are like, this plain white rice, you know. Not every meal has to be like that, but I definitely just fall into very the same kind of patterns in what I eat. I just kind of change the carb each meal, I change the protein each meal and whatnot. But yeah, it's that kind of habitual kind of pattern around eating.
So when was the last time you had a Five Guys?
Well, I had to stop Louis last night from getting Five Guys.
No way, it really worked.
Because the thing is that Louis' cheat day is kind of like every other day, and like Louis will have one good day. And it's like, smash that! I'm going to get Five Guys tonight. So he texted us like, Connor, stop me from getting a Five Guys. I had to tell him every kind of insight under the sun to stop him trying to eat it. But when was the last time I had a Five Guys? When was it? About two weeks ago, maybe. But
2 weeks too long.
Was it more than that? I don't know. But I mean, look, just to put this into perspective, I did smash a chocolate chip cookie just before this interview. So
I could tell. Look, yeah. Well, I think for us all, you know, I've always been very greedy, and I love my food. So I'm lucky that my partner's a nutritionist, so she cooks great, healthy meals that taste like they shouldn't be healthy. So I'm lucky in that respect. But I always think with the food, yeah, it's one of those things that, as you say, you'll get guys going to the gym or doing loads of fitness, and then they eat a load of shit and wonder why they're not seeing the results. And you're like, you know, maybe the argument could be had that you could not bother working out and just eat well, and that would be a good start. Well, lastly, before we jump on to Louis talking about it, what was the own goal, Connor, that you scored? Talk to me about that. It says Foreign to Sport was a game of football in which he scored an own goal. Talk to me about it.
Like growing up as a gay child in like
You're gay?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
And I just remember like obviously never liking sport. And I just would get put in these like sporting games. And I just remember like the first time I played football, I was just, you know, oh God, the ball has got to go into the net. Like that's and I scored an own goal. And then I was, you know, got shouted at by my team and I was like, this is awful. I'll do that the next time. And then, you know, the next, I don't know if it was the next time I played it, but the last time I played football, literally, I was trying so hard. I was sweating. I was trying, and I kicked the ball in the goal like this, and just daggers. And literally, they made me cry because they were so annoyed that I scored an own goal. I was like, fuck this, I'm not playing fucking football anymore. I'm out. Okay.
I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So
that was basically my only foray into sport.
fair enough.
Scarred for life.
Well, in fact, on that quick, we're going to do some quick fire. But for each of you, do any of you support a football team? Therefore, assuming that you like football. But if so, who supports what team?
Jay likes Man United.
Shut up! I support Liverpool.
I support Brazil.
Get out of there.
Love the Brazilian team.
For one reason only.
You sport.
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
I don't do.
Liverpool. Well, you'll be pleased to know that on Friday I'm interviewing. Since we've got an Arsenal fan and Liverpool fans, I'm interviewing Neil Mellor, the ex-Liverpool footballer, who in fact scored the last-minute 95th winner against Arsenal at Anfield, if you remember. Perhaps you're too young for that. So I mean,
God, I remember that well.
Yeah. So you'll have to catch that one because it's always good to speak to professional sportsmen that have played at that high level in front of 50, 60,000 people. Well, we'll jump on to phase 4 of with Louis. 13 years in the industry, hard work and commitment. But I wanted to ask you about with your dad was a karate freestyle world champion. So how was that for you growing up with a dad that achieved something pretty amazing and pretty incredible?
Yeah, it was actually a bit mad. He was like, he's called him Danny Fastfoot Foster. Back then there was like no UFC, so it was like freestyle karate championships on like a mat, but they'd create like a big vibe and there'd be like a mad crowd. And my dad used to come out to like these big entrances, and the other people come out, and basically it'd be a freestyle karate competition, but it'd be so built up, like there'd be it'd be in the newspaper, and then at the end of it, it'd be on a videotape, and everyone would like pass this videotape around, like, your dad was this. But yeah, it was great. Like he had loads of trophies. He was one of the best at it. So it was kind of like, for me, it was like, oh, I should go into karate as well. I think I was on a red belt and then got kicked in the balls and was like, no, this is not for me.
Nothing done there, yeah. So would you say that kind of sparked your like love of or your interest in fitness and the health side of things, like with your dad and his?
No, it was. Do you know what? Growing up watching him do karate, it made me love combat sports. So I used to be obsessed with boxing. Like, I mean, obsessed. Like back in the day, Mike Tyson, Holyfield, Frank Bruno, Lennox Lewis, like Prince Nassim Hamed. I was just obsessed. My mum used to wake me up at 4 a.m. and let me watch the fights. And I just absolutely loved it. And that built a love for me with like boxing. That's when I started doing boxing. And what was so strange on my last boxing match was I used to watch my dad all the time. And there was like videos of me watching my dad. And then when I did the last boxing match, I'm in the ring and I'm fighting and they knock this guy out. And in the outside of the ring, I could see me dad watching me. Like he was shadow boxing, like, do this. And it was a moment where I was like, wow, it's crazy that I used to watch him and now he's watching me doing, something very similar.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, I deck him now. He had no chance. Like every now and again, what happens? Because he still practices, but he does Wing Chun now. But I'm obviously a lot bigger than him, so he'll try it, but he doesn't know that I know some stuff as well. So I'll grab him and just get it done.
Yeah, it's always I was doing an event with Johnny Nelson.
Brilliant.
Great, amazing guy. But when I was on that, you know, I'd watched him a lot, watching his fights. So it was quite funny when you're like, okay, don't say anything stupid. Don't say anything stupid.
I know.
But I think it's great when you, like for you, if you've grown up seeing your dad, and then the flip side of it is, well, therefore the flip side of that, what's it like for you being a dad?
Oh, it's best thing ever happened to me. I mean, like, when you first find out you're going to be a dad, like, you really do shit yourself, and I don't think you're ever ready, no matter what the circumstances are. But for me, it sparked a different type of motivation, and it changed me into a completely different type of person. The only person I had to worry about before that was myself, and then all of a sudden I had a child, and it's a learning curve, you know. Like, from now, my daughter's 9 years old. I wasn't always the best dad I could be, but I was trying to be the best dad. And you learn along the way on how to do that. And each day, even up to now, I still learn things about being a dad. Like, you know, no one teaches that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the best motivation that's ever happened to me. So everything I do now is for a reason. And you've never really experienced love like it when it's you. I mean, you've got children, you'll know. It's hard to explain to someone without children, but when you do have it, it's like it's a deep, deep love. So yeah, and it's been amazing. My daughter's great. She's a right little character as well. So it's been a good 9 years so far.
It sure is an eye opener.
2 years I'm a bit worried about, but yeah.
I was just thinking, I pity, you know, the first time she brings a couple of guys home who were like, you know, meet my dad. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My sister's now 18, and I can remember when she was 16, she got one guy to the house, and I remember I walked in, and I said, "Where's your sister?" She says, "Oh, she's in a room with she's dating this guy," and I just walked straight up, pushed the door open. I was like, "Oh, mate." His face was like, "Oh no." But yeah, you wouldn't want to be dating my daughter. I've got a big group of friends. She's got uncles, me, Jay.
Yeah, sure.
Connor.
I'll be like, yeah. Get him, girl.
I was thinking it's funny because you just wonder, you know, I've got 2 boys, so I'll be the dad, be like, "Go on, my son." Allegedly, I wouldn't ever be like that. All right, well, guys, look, I know I've used up an hour of your valuable time. It's good to talk to you. Just one last thing, a quick fire for each of you. What's the toughest thing you've ever done?
Royal Marines.
Easy one for Jay.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Toughest thing I've ever done.
So I did a charity event, which was like a workout of every hour, like, you know, on the hour.
I remember that.
24 hours. So I was up for 24 hours, literally just working out, and that was horrible.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I remember going to go, just touching that. I went to go see Nick at the CrossFit gym he was doing that.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went in, they were still in the infancy of it. So they were all just like, yeah. And then I was following as it went along, and it was like hour 14, 15, just like, I was dead.
Yeah.
And
I was like a slug.
Yeah. And then it must have been the last 2 hours, you then re-picked it back up again.
Yeah.
That was mad.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Good fun, but
yeah.
Who's next? Hardest thing you've ever done?
Fitness-wise, the hardest thing I ever done was a triathlon, because I had no reason to be there. I shouldn't have been there. I don't know how I ended up there. I was on a bike going around, and people were watching like, why is there a giraffe cycling around on a triathlon? Not only that, is everyone did front crawl in the water, and I had to do front crawl, so I did breaststroke.
Yeah. With
my head out the water the whole time, and then got to the last part when I was running, and the whole time I was like, stop. Yeah. Stop doing this. Walk. And I can remember running thinking, Louis, don't ever sign up for anything stupid like this again. And that was mentally one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I had no right to be in that situation.
Because I must say, when I first looked at your Instagram profile, I was like, fucking hell, this guy's got triathlete body written all over it. So it was obvious.
No, it was terrible. Literally, I was awful. And my knees were out on the bike and everything.
Yeah.
My bike was too small. It was just awful.
Last question to contestant number 4. Hardest thing you've ever done?
Mine's probably more mental than physical. It's probably realizing that I was deeply, deeply unhappy with where I was in life, and I was kind of that was surfacing in partying and kind of being really self-destructive. So it was actually the realization that the only way that I'm going to get to a point where I'm really happy is if I recognize that and I quit and I stop everything and I really work on kind of healing myself. So mentally, that was kind of the toughest thing for me to do. But physically, I mean, I trained as a dancer.
Get out of
I
here.
did so well. I trained as a dancer, but Izzy, we both have a degree in dance. So, I mean, waking up every day and having to smash your body in a different kind of way to the Marines. They're like, oh, let me just crawl around in some mild and dirty. Whereas we were like, ballet tights on, like rash on the jock strap, like all day, every day.
I think the Marines don't know real hardship until they've done all that with a.
That's cool, Jay.
I'd see you in red ballet shoes.
You could probably get a few followers if you start chucking those on as well. Well, very last question is we always ask guys one golden nugget to help guys do life better. You can either have a collective one or one each. I'm sensing we're going to go for one each because you're all so funny. So you can choose who goes first, but one golden nugget that you think would help a guy do life better.
I know it's a bit vague, but always have fun with whatever it is. Because if you're having fun and you just have that free-flowing, like to vibe, then you'll always succeed. So just always have fun with just whatever you do.
I like it.
Yeah, nice. Mine, no one.
Oh, sorry. I was just say, be honest with yourself. Like, if there is something that is hindering your life that you could be performing a lot better mentally and physically, what is that bad habit that you have? Get rid of it if it's not serving you anymore, and do it with the 100% rule.
I like it.
I would say talk, like talk to your friends, and talk to other men as well, because the more you talk to other men, the more it will entice them to talk as well. I think the biggest thing is men don't talk. I never did all my life, and then only recently. It's actually Connor spoke to me once. I was like going through a little bit of depression, like lockdown, and all this shit that's got to me. And Connor was like, "You just talk about it." And it was one of the biggest things that someone had said to me and that I've used, and it's really helped. So mine would be like for men, is just talk. Don't sit there and have it in your own head and think that you have to have an ego and be tough. And you have to look like the strong one all the time. Just have that vulnerability to talk.
That's a really important point, because I know we always try and, how can I put the message across that we're not saying that guys have to talk all the time and kind of pour out all their feelings, because quite honestly, maybe some people would be like, I don't know even how to listen to it. But to say, if you are finding things tough, and that I would say that like the pressure builds up on your shoulders, that if you don't let it out by via talking, you'll probably let it out some other way, which might be a slightly more destructive route. So
we've got the benefit of having each other, and we can talk, and we are a very honest group of friends, so nothing we could say would shock anyone else out of the friendship group. So we have that in our friendship group, and it really helps being able to talk and say, like Connor said the other day, I'm feeling shit, I've got this, and we go, right, let's go for a walk, because and then just going around and talking to your friends on a walk, it helps. Even Nick messaged me recently and said, Lily, I know we don't really talk like that, but I'm open here if you want to have that open conversation. And even that is like, to open that conversation with your friends is a real big thing for some people.
Yeah, no, it's an important point. Jay, last one to you, Squire.
Trying to touch on that in a way. Mine is, the more you seek discomfort, the more comfortable you will become. And I don't just mean that in a physical sense, but like just bounce off what Louis just said then. Louis was feeling super uncomfortable to talk about his feelings or whatever it was. And the moment he's talked about them, he now feels more and more comfortable to keep on talking about them should they arise again.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself forwards in thinking, okay, this conversation might be very uncomfortable, and also might feel very uncomfortable even asking somebody if they will listen to me talk.
Yeah.
But the moment you've done it, maybe not just one time, but you've done it a few times, it just starts to become way more comfortable after that.
We've been really good at that. Even like, we'll call each other, even if we say something, now we'll call each other and be like, this made me feel this way. And then what normally happens is we'll go, we don't even mean it like that. What are you on about? And it's fine because sometimes what I've realised is you can say certain things and people can take them in a certain way. And if you don't clarify the way they were said and you walk off and leave it, that person's left there feeling like this way. Yeah. Jay rang me recently saying, look, I just can't believe you said that. I was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. It was like, oh my God, I've been going bloody mental. You remember? He's like, I've been going mad, mate. I was like, no, I didn't even mean it like that. So it's good to have that conversation.
It sounds like a lot of my previous relationships. Like, just to clarify, what I actually meant was this. But don't you find also with the invention of mobile phones that's the problem, that when you're conversing with people via text, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, all these different things that
WhatsApp big time.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Don't have any serious conversation.
WhatsApp,
always ring.
Face to face. For sure.
Yeah, deleting that is probably another podcast in itself, to be honest, with privacy and people sending stuff. Well, look, chaps, I'm going to let you all go. I appreciate your time, and I'll put all in the show notes the stuff about your new project, which I think is pretty cool. And hopefully when I'm back down in London and any of you around, I'll come and have a coffee with you and a man hug.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great. Yeah.
All right, chaps. I will speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.